Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sound Espressivo. Sound Espressivo is a new generation of classical music competition. It offers contestants to perform in live broadcast TV-like show from their own location anywhere in the world. Sound Espressivo panel of judges represents top performing artists and music educators from around the globe. Sound Espressivo offers an unprecedented array of awards for winning musicians. Welcome to our podcast. Meet the judges, meet music promoters and managers, and music educators.
No matter where you are or who you are, music connects us all. We started with a dream, but now we are paving the future. Welcome to the Sound Espressivo Global Competition. Fully virtual, yet bringing musicians closer together than ever before, now on a global scale. True live, inclusivity, diversity, connection, community, an extraordinary array of judges. Get noticed by companies all over the world. Prizes, scholarships, performance opportunities. Apply to be a part of the most exciting congregation of artists like nothing you've ever seen before. We guarantee quality and leave no musician behind. We can't wait to hear you on the virtual stage.
And now I would like to introduce our wonderful guests, two incredible musicians, educators, performers, artists, and supporters of younger generation. David Coleman, a trumpeter. David, you are a performing trumpeter, founder of an ensemble, international touring artist. You're a tireless promoter of performing arts, music education, cultural initiatives. You have empowered countless musicians and music organizations to carry on music and culture. You have done more for advancement of music and musicians than I can even reasonably list. On a podcast. That's just impossible. I think people will need to read on the banners and go to the links which we provide to check more information about you. Just the sheer numbers of what you've done are plain staggering. You've presented educational programs at well over 1,000 institutions. It's got to sink into my brain. 1,000 institutions over the past 30 years of your active career. And that's only just a part of your work. I'm so proud, so honored to have you on our podcast, to be a member of our judges panels, and to be part of the Sound Espressivo initiative. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for that glowing introduction. My gosh, you're making me blush here on a Sunday. It's
Oh my
very
gosh.
kind of you, and I'm really thrilled to be a part of both this podcast as well as a part of the competition. I think what you're doing is spectacular under difficult circumstances with what we're all experiencing. You're taking a problem and turning it into a huge opportunity, not just for the kids, but for yourself and for the art form. So kudos to you. What a wonderful thing you're doing.
Thank you, David. Well, there's over 200 of us
Wow.
working together, as you know, and musicians, music promoters, managers, publishers, music historians. It's people from every walk of classical music industry. And I would like to introduce Diane Martinovich. And for Diane, I think it would be appropriate to have Diane enter with her music. Diane, if you please allow me to say this. You and your work defies every misconception there is in the world about a successful opera singer. Whoever came to this podcast with an image of a diva and drama queen is going to find out in a second that everything about drama queen is not about you. And every hour of our preconceived conception of diva who is just being pampered around by slaves and everyone around is you're everything but. You're not just widely successful, widely, I mean, worldly known successful opera singer with an international career. You are a successful businesswoman, a business coach. You're author of best-selling books. You're CEO of several companies. You established and you run a hugely successful life and business magazine. This is an incredible manifestation to a person who is much larger than every preconceived transcriptional box about an opera singer. And I'm immensely proud to have you on our podcast and to be part of a community of people like both you, David, and you, Diane. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much, Anna, for this very interesting and wonderful introduction, and for this great opportunity to be here with you, with David, and other great colleagues and musicians and artists, team members of the Sound Espressivo competition. Thank you. I'm honored.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to dive into a big bag of my questions, and I know for sure I'm not going to be able to ask you all, but I'd like to try. And both of you seem to me through numerous occasions when we had a chance to chat and talk and discuss the Sound Espressivo project, appear to me like a tidal wave of energy, powerhouse people who had done what I can't even imagine for one person to be able to do in a lifetime, and you are continuing to do that. And I want to ask this because I think it's really important for all of us to hear from people like yourself. What, where does your motivation and your energy come from? What drives your ability to keep going, especially in the current situation when there's every reason in the world to get depressed and to drop the ball and to succumb to much less than friendly winds of the changes in situation. Please, to you, who wants to be
Okay.
first?
You want to go first, David?
Sure, I
Or
can go first.
okay, thank you.
I'm going to digress just a second away from the field of music. Sadly, in this past year, 2 years actually, both of my in-laws passed away. They were in their mid 90s. And, during their lifetime, they experienced a worldwide depression. My father-in-law fought in a world war and barely survived. And, came out of that and raised a family, was extremely successful in his business world. And, when I think of what we're experiencing right now, which is certainly difficult, and but, we have, as the human race, we've experienced extraordinary hardship in the past. And we've come through it well, and in some cases came through it stronger and better, you know. And I have to say that my both of my in-laws, my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, they were real characters. They were very uh, iconoclastic people, but they came through tough times and they came through those times very well. And as musicians, I think there's a lesson to be learned there. Whatever difficulty I'm experiencing right now, I'm not at the Battle of the Bulge having my feet frozen. So things are things are tough, but people have experienced tough times before and come through them well and came through them smarter and stronger. And I think this competition is a great example of, there's a saying that problems are nothing more than opportunities in work clothes. And I really believe that to be true. So, yeah, hats off to Anna, but I think, sometimes we get lessons in our lives outside the field of music that we can apply to the field of music. But
Absolutely. Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
it's very powerful to apply real world experience to practicing music and practicing our music careers and business, because
Exactly.
it's not only, to me at least, it's not only about punching the keys on the keyboard, and it's way beyond that. It's in everyday interactions with people, and setting goals, and um, coming along through to achieve those goals, or at least put my best foot forward to achieve them. Diane, please, your take.
Well, I everything that David said is also my opinion, the way I look at life. My life when I was younger, I was brought up in Yugoslavia, and I was a child that lived through the war in 90s. So when you are brought up in the countries like that, you have this picture of life as a battlefield, and we are kind of grow battlefield in a way that you must fight for everything good in your life. So I think that we all share that opinion, and that is something that we need to simply talk and resolve with ourselves, with our mind, because we cannot have impact on the world around us. We cannot change COVID situation or economical crisis. But what we can do, we can change the way how we our perception on the world, and we can train ourselves to be positive, to be motivated, to know that life isn't just the honey and sweetness and the roses all around us. No, life is difficult. Each of us, we all have our problems, we all have our troubles. But as David said, the most important thing is to look as all of these failures, not as a failures, but as in new opportunities, when we can learn something new, something better, when we can improve ourselves and learn how to be better, and learn how to fight all these difficulties that are around us. So I think this is my motivation. And of course, there is this personal thing, family. And for me personally, what motivates me the most, every success that I made is my biggest motivation, because I know how much effort I had to put in my work to come there where I wanted to go, you know.
Of course, that is invigorating, to work really hard and to see the progress and see the effect of your work, and see people energized, other people energized by your example and by the work you do. Both of you are tremendous examples to me, personally, and I'm sure that I'm not the only, the only one. And right now, for performing musicians, of course, the biggest problem and the biggest topic for everyone is we can't perform in the concert halls, in the physical venues. So we are, just like you said, we are looking for ways to perform, because that's the value which we cherish and which we want to uphold and stand up for, the live performance. Of course, there is always an alternative to record everything, and not to downplay that alternative. It's wonderful, but it's only one of the alternatives. And the live performance has its own beauty, has its own possibility for connection, which is different from the recordings. So each one of them has its own unique value. So we stand here for the actual live performance. So how do you see this environment and stepping into this completely new platform, new idea even to connect with audience through the internet, real life performances? What do you see that as a as an alternative, and how do you see the future of it?
Diane, would you like to?
Okay, thank you. Well, when this COVID situation started, there were two challenges that opera houses and performing centers had to face. First one was the economical problem, of course, because it was closely connected with the economical situation all over the world. And the second one is, as I like to call it, operational one, because we all had to face with this problem, how to how to send performances, how to reach the audience because of the lockdowns. And I think that it's not the challenge, it's more an opportunity to see how can we find connection with art performances and digital media, because this is like a step forward for performing art. And a lot of companies have done that very successfully, and they are still trying to find the better and better solutions, how to put all the performances on digital media. So this is one way. So now it's all the question for scientists and for digital media developers, because when we are talking about performing arts, we have several things that we need to take care of, like the quality of the sound, but there is also this feeling, the energy that goes between performers and the audience. There's something that we cannot describe. So now the biggest question is, how far can we get in this process of connecting performing art and digital media? And I think that this is definitely something that represents one major step forward for the development of classical music and performing arts in general. And I think that this is the future, not the only future that we have, but now in this situation when we are facing crisis, I think it's the best possible solution that we can have. And of course, the advantages of this digital media's connection with performing arts are there are many actually, because you get a broader audience, you reach much more people than in performing opera houses, and I'm sure there will be even more benefits of exploring this connection in the future.
David, to you.
Yes, I agree with everything Diane just said. That's dead on, exactly right. And again, this is an opportunity, and oftentimes, especially in classical music, we become a bit hidebound, and sometimes in classical music, classical musicians, and I think it has to do with the fact that what we do is difficult, and that adopting something new is risky. So,
Mhm.
you're always on a kind of on a razor's edge if you're performing well. And gosh, once you find something that works and allows you to maneuver that razor's edge successfully, you'll hang on to it like grim death. Okay. you know,
Yeah.
be very reluctant to really let that go, and I know especially with trumpet players, which brass players in general, gosh, it doesn't take too many little clams or errors before you're you're looking for a new job. So so once you
Yeah, you're
find something that
absolutely right.
works, yeah, even something
Stepping
as low tech as a brass instrument, something that works for you, you stick with it for a long time. And now change has been forced upon us, like it or not. It needs to happen. So one of the areas that I see, again, to draw in something outside the field of music performance and classical music. I'm a licensed pilot. I enjoy flying little airplanes. Okay, and a
another
couple of
one
years, well,
of things you do.
yeah, well, anyway, a few years ago, I had a chance to go to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and I think it's been long enough. I think the guy who snuck me into the flight simulators retired, so I don't think he can get in trouble for this. But I had a chance to sit inside a $20 million and fly a $20 million flight simulator that was so unbelievably realistic that they actually have problems with people becoming airsick in this flight
Oh
simulator.
wow.
It is totally
Wow.
immersive, and it is so good that when you're transitioning from one aircraft to another, if you do enough time in the flight simulator, in certain situations, you can go directly to flying the new aircraft with no real transition time. All the instruction can happen within this simulated environment. So, if we can do something as life and death and as complex as flying an aircraft, um, then I would think extending this to opera, extending this to orchestral music, to chamber music, that should be no problem. And I
So
have
with
to
a
admit,
little bit of
I
With a
Yeah.
really,
little bit of
really
courage,
enjoyed.
we can step into that.
Yeah, and I really, really enjoyed flying a four-engine transport plane underneath the Golden Gate Bridge in virtual reality, which is something I'm pretty sure if you did that in real life, you wouldn't be a pilot anymore. I think the federal government would want to have a conversation with you. But but and it really, I mean, it brings up possibilities and collaborations that could not otherwise occur. So this is really an opportunity. Yeah, it's also been dreadful. I mean, it's been a dreadful thing, but at the same time, um,
The opportunity
let's
to connect, you're absolutely
yeah,
right. You brought it up. The opportunity to connect across the world, across the time zones, and to have the community of musicians with each other and with the audience in the real time. That's unprecedented. We're really looking at the worldwide concert hall. Like, for instance, Diane, where are you joining us right now from?
I'm joining you from Europe, from Paris.
I'm from Washington, D.C., and where are you joining from, David?
I'm joining you from exciting and vital Xenia, Ohio.
We are 10,000 miles apart, and yet
Exactly.
I feel the
Yeah.
energy of being together with you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't
Yeah.
take much to start the conversation and to have this energy going together. And this is where we're taking a courageous leap of faith into the modern technology, relying on scientists and software developers to provide us with a reliable platform. I'm going to introduce now the virtual concert halls, the broadcasting platform, which provides a space for the Sound Espressivo competition. And I would like to encourage everyone to put your trust in the hands of 21st century human technology. Thank you for watching this little clip. And I just want to mention that this is a compilation of the actual virtual performances of the very first people who took the courage to step on the virtual stage with virtual concert halls. And as you can see, the very first people were the little kids. They believed that this is possible and they wanted to be part of it early on with the development of the virtual concert halls. The Sound Espressivo is a project of the virtual concert halls, and there's over 200 people, musicians and artists and collaborators and developers, even psychologists and business coaches who participate in the development of the concept. Sound Espressivo offers a completely revised concept of performance stage itself. And we touched already on that, but I just wanted to catch on what you, Diane, said that there are other sides which virtual stage offers to musicians and audience, which are impossible in the physical space. For example, just throw in a little example. Right now, I can perform right there on this piano and reach someone in Japan. Now, in the physical concert hall, that requires for me to get the visa. Well, I don't know if I have to get one, but maybe not. But I have to definitely purchase a ticket and endure an 18-hour flight. I hate being on a plane for 18 hours, and I like my piano very much. I don't know what kind of piano I'm going to have in Japan. It may be the one which requires for me to adjust for a couple of days.
Exactly.
These are just a few things as a performing artist. I see that in the future, when the concert halls are going to open, I probably will perform sometimes in the physical concert hall, sometimes on the virtual concert hall. What is your personal feeling about it?
Well, I share your opinion completely. Since I'm an opera singer and classical music soprano performer, the difference is that, for example, if you have an opera performances and if you are having it in virtual theaters, we are talking about the future, something that might happen. Then it's also much more economical because you don't need to pay travel expenses, you don't need to pay orchestras, you don't need to be on stage. You can conduct your scenes the way you like. You can be your manager, your scenery, your director. So this is also an opportunity for an artist to spread their skills. If you know what I mean. So
But that
this
would
is also.
require learning those new skills, right?
Yes, that will require learning new skills, but I'm the person who believes in lifelong learning because this is also related to the way our mind develops. By learning, you stay healthy, you stay fit, and your energy is much better than when you don't learn nothing and if you don't develop yourself. So I think it's a good thing for every one of us because we live in a world of 21st century, and the late 20th century and 21st century is a period of expanding growth of information, of digitalization. The world became very small place, as you said, because everything you want to know, you can find it online. So it requires from us to develop ourselves, to learn new skills in order to be able to simply follow those steps of that world development. So for me, from my point of view, it's a good thing, definitely a good thing.
It's definitely challenging. It can be
Yes.
scary for a lot of people. David, what's your take on that?
Well, traveling is simply brutal. And I mean, I think for people who travel for a living, for most tourists who travel, they think, "Oh gosh, this is wonderful. This is great. I'm going to this, tourist destination, and it's a lovely thing." But once you've spent your fourth or fifth or sixth or seventh consecutive day on an airplane or some other, mode of travel, it's awful, and it really it affects your level of performance because of simple fatigue. And gosh, it's even before COVID hit, traveling was honestly no fun. And even, forget the expense. I mean, my trumpets have traveled to places, via lost luggage that I've never visited in my entire life, And,
Well, I never lost my instrument,
well,
but
there you go. That's what you can finish there. And I used to travel with a chamber music group, and
But I
we
have
traveled.
lost my concert dresses.
Oh, heck yeah! My chamber music group, the airline once lost our tuba.
Oh
Okay,
my God.
and
oh
yeah,
God.
and you go to the baggage counter and they have that card where you're supposed to point to the thing that looks the most like the piece of luggage you've lost. And needless to say, there's no tuba, on this card. So I pointed out to the clerk, I'm pretty sure this is the only tuba in your baggage system right now. Okay, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this was the case. So they eventually got our tuba back to us, But yeah, traveling is brutal, and I think live music will never completely go away. I don't think it will.
Yeah.
I think it's
No.
just too
Yeah.
interesting. And I don't think there's any danger of that not happening. But I think bringing, I live in a small community here in Ohio, and I just recently recorded a piece by Alan Hovhaness, and I had a string section from London record all the string parts, and they did a beautiful job. And I hope the people of Xenia, Ohio, don't take this the wrong way, but there are a lot better violin players in London than there are in Xenia, Ohio. Okay, so um, Yeah, they did a fantastic job. And then I downloaded the files and they had it mic'd every way to Sunday. And I picked the one I liked. And then I overdubbed the trumpet part in a beautiful big church here and was very happy with the results. So,
And we so
um,
hope very much
yeah,
to present that at our next podcast when you come again as a guest. Can't wait for that to be available.
sure, I can send that to you as an audio file, no problem. And again, what an amazing thing, just to be able to email audio files. I
Yeah.
hate to sound like I'm incredibly elderly here, but I can remember, using FedEx to deliver reel-to-reel tape, to so
Yeah.
yeah, things are always getting better despite the difficulties that we're currently facing. Things are really improving. So yeah, this is an opportunity. It's a way to avoid airline seats, unless it's a special occasion, and then live performance does become special when it becomes something that's maybe a little out of the ordinary, and
Yeah.
And and to
yeah,
me, I'm teaching and I'm performing online since the pandemic started, and I found that all of a sudden I have so much time in my hands because I'm not
Yes.
driving in the rush hour traffic to the places where I have to rehearse, and it accumulates. I feel like
absolutely.
I'm a lot more in
Yes.
control of my time and a lot more productive,
Yeah,
just because I have that
Yes.
opportunity to
there
work
there is
from.
nothing worse out here in Xenia than getting stuck behind a big giant tractor, that's hauling something, and then it just takes you forever to get around the guy. So I'm not doing that, so that's a big improvement.
Yes, it is.
But no, this is it's a difficult time, it's a challenging time, but at the same time it's an exciting time. What's the Irish curse? May you live in interesting times, but
Yes.
Yes.
And
and
I
it's
think
it's a
Chinese
curse.
have something similar.
Similar,
Um,
yeah.
Probably every culture which lived long enough to encounter some mass challenges devised something. Living during the challenging, changing times takes special approach and special skills and um, very special optimism to move forward
Yes.
because like you said there's so much this change is offering so much but it also takes so much from the person to be able to adopt it and to actually benefit from the opportunities which it offers. And I
And
Yes.
wanted to touch base about the opportunities. The Sound Espressivo devised many concepts, and one of the fundamental concepts we worked together to change was about the opportunities we want to offer to the young musicians. We want to offer them to learn what it's like to be performing live through the internet. Of course, they will experience that through the actual rounds of the competition. But in addition to that, we took a completely different approach to the prizes which we offer. A lot of times the competitions offer just monetary prizes, and then the musicians are free to do whatever they want with this money. But we thought that a lot of times even winning musicians may not even have a very good idea of what to do with this money and how to make the most out of their prize. And a lot of times are looking for the services which musicians need to advance their study, advance their career, advance their ability to connect and continue and grow. It may be challenging to even find out where those opportunities are and which ones to pick. And so I want to mention that Diane is a judge, just like David in of the competition, but she also has a dual representation in the competition. She offers prizes to the young winners um, through her companies. And Diane, if you would please touch a little bit on what are those prizes and why you picked to offer those particular ones.
Yes, exactly. Well, we are offering two prizes for the winners. DM Life and Business Magazine is giving promotional and publishing opportunities to the winners. Basically, we will conduct an interview with the winners and make an online worldwide promotion of the winner, which I find very important for the young artists to be promoted online and to the broader audience. And the second prize is Life Coaching and Business Consulting Company is awarding free career consultation sessions to the winners and to the young artists.
And why did you well you touched on why you picked the promotion, because promotion obviously is so important, and a lot of
Yes.
times young artists don't even know how to start approaching it, let alone how to make it effective. Now, the other prize, honestly, I'd like to win that one. The business coaching.
You're welcome to
Can I
come.
enter?
We will vote for you if you compete. If you will compete, don't worry.
I'd like to consider, because this is really I'm very interested in the business coaching. Can you please describe just maybe a little bit of what that prize is going to look like to the future winners?
Well, most of the young artists, when they finish universities and when they start performing, they basically need someone who will guide them, who will show them what step to take next, how to prepare for the audition, what repertoire to sing. If we are talking about the singers, or where to go, to what audition, because there is always time for artists for certain auditions. For example, I can give you examples from the singer's life. What kind of repertoire should they sing? And of course, this is where we are. Why are we here? This is what we do when we are talking about career counseling. And then there is also this other part, defining goals. What goals do they want to achieve in their career? And then developing strategies for them, steps, how to reach that goal. We also help them with motivation and with this psychological part that they all need to have in order to be motivated and to go there to reach their career. So this is basically what is involved in career consultation sessions.
That's incredible, and especially to get that kind of consultation directly from the person who is a opera singer with a successful career in the field,
Thank
and
you.
a businesswoman with successful several companies
Thank you.
which you run. So I trust your advice,
Thank
because
you.
you've proven that you found really effective ways to lead your career and to make good choices in that career. That's
Thank you.
incredible. Bravo to you. I'm so honored that you joined the companies which offer prizes, because I think that's going to make a huge difference in someone's life, and in someone's career, and in someone's well-being. This is incredible.
Thank you very much, Anna.
And I want to also ask both of you, as you both are on our Sound Espressivo Judges panel, the uh, judging and the advancement through the rounds of the Sound Espressivo had been revised too, just like about every concept of the competition. And I want to ask, because I'm sure the contestants would like to hear it from the judges. How do you plan on approaching the judging, given that the categories of this competition are completely different? They are artistic categories, and it may be very different, maybe challenging, maybe again an opportunity. You're not going to be comparing female singers to female singers, or flutists to flutists. You're going to be comparing artists who express themselves through the medium of their own instrument, and based on the artistic categories such as virtuosity, lyricism, program, academic approach, etc. But as judges who are the first ones in the world to be doing that, I'm sure you gave it a lot of thought, and I heard lots of comments from all the judges who are on the panel. But if you could please share with our future contestants, how are they going to be judged?
Well, you want to go first, David, or should I?
Sure, I can go first.
Okay.
Um, I've always encouraged my students to find the essence of themselves in their playing. And while technique is critical, you have to be able to physically execute the passage, the piece, the concerto, whatever that happens to be. That has to be there, and it has to be just as clean and virtuosic as you can possibly make it. But that's only step one. Step two is you have to use this piece of music as a vehicle to let people know how you look at the world and how you interpret this piece of music and what you're like as a person. So it's really two steps. And granted, the first one's a tough one. I think all of us attended conservatories where our teachers were very serious about technique, and that's a good thing. But really, that's not what an audience connects with. I've never once gone to a concert and heard the audience members leaving saying, "Wow, that was great. He didn't miss a single note." I've
Yes,
never heard that
exactly.
happen. What I've heard them say is, "Gosh, that was really great. I was transported by that," or "I spent, an hour, outside my own life. I spent 2 hours, listening to music that just transported me." And that's what they listen. That's what they find memorable. Sometimes the things that we find the most challenging, and frankly, that I to this day I spend a lot of time every day working on trumpet technique. Um, but um, the idea, especially the two categories that appealed to me the most, one was lyricism. I feel like you have to connect with an audience by playing a beautiful melody for them first and foremost. And when I've commissioned works, I've always talked to the composer about writing beautiful melodies that will not only connect with the audience, but will, you know, oftentimes, a beautiful melody or a melody that connects with harmony in very interesting ways, that really resonates with an audience. And so that to me is really first and foremost. Plus, I love playing melodies. I really enjoy playing a gorgeous tune. And secondly, I believe one of the categories is being an ambassador. Am I correct?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
music ambassador.
We're all ambassadors. Every time you pick up your instrument in public, or in your case, you sing so beautifully as both you and your husband did in that video, that was stunning. And
Thank you.
we're all ambassadors, and we all have to reach out to a larger world. I think in the United States right now, classical music reaches 5 or maybe 10% of the population. And, I find that to be unacceptable. I think that classical music could reach a far greater audience if we did a little better job of being ambassadors and connecting and reaching out to people. This is a spectacular art form. This is an amazing art form. Opera can be absolutely electrifying,
Yes.
and gosh, that figure of 5 or at most 10%. Here in Xenia, it's probably more like 40 or 50%. No, not like that. Okay, here.
Yeah, but
I'm probably going to hear from people from Xenia like forever over this thing. I won't be able to go to the grocery store after this, but but I will say this though, that connection has to be made to a larger audience. So both the lyric quality and the ambassador quality really connected with me. Not to the exclusion of everything else, but that was my immediate reaction. Diane?
Yes,
Diane, to you.
I couldn't agree with you more, David, about everything you said. Um, then the question occurred to me, why people listen classical music at all? I think that they go to theaters and that they listen to classical music because of the sense of magic it creates, the sense of hope, of dreams come true, emotions, everything that they cannot find in normal life when they come home facing everyday problems and troubles. So classical music is something that is a necessity to humankind. And I don't want to mention all the benefits that it has on children development, and you know everything. So, and as for the technique, I think that a good technique is necessary only as a tool for artists to be able to tell the story that the composer wanted to say, for performer to be able to put himself, his emotions also in that and be part of that creation, of that magic. But in order to be able to create the magic, of course, performance must have very good technique. And no matter what kind of technique and what kind of instrument is that. So as for me, I will be also judging technique like a step one, but I will also take into consideration the period of time where we are now, and this everything that was going on in the world, and the fact that now all the performance they are facing with something that is completely new for most of them. And I think that we have to congratulate everyone who applied for the competition, and we have to support them in the most possible way. As for myself, I always tend to find the best, all the beautiness that I can in the promotion and the concerts and the pieces the contestants perform. So this is how will I judge now, having in mind all the circumstances that contestant had to face to come and to apply for this competition.
Exactly, and to
Of course,
overcome technological barriers and to
of
overcome
course,
the fear of stepping into
exactly.
something else, like we talked earlier, stepping outside the box. But
And,
Yes.
Diane, David touched briefly on a couple of specific categories which he intends to judge. In the final round of the competition, we have 9 categories, and the
Mhm.
judges themselves choose which categories they prefer to judge.
Yes.
And we hear from all of the judges that this is actually an opportunity for a judge too to see and to look, at our overall direction of our own art. Which of the categories? I mean, of course, we incorporate them all, but some of them speak more deeply to our own personalities. So, what are your choices, and how would you, if you don't mind, revealing it to our future contestants right away?
No problem at all. Well, I think that my choices were lyric and ambassador, the same as David. Um, I chose lyric because I think it's the closest to what my expertise are, and that I will be the most helpful in this category for you and for contestants. And as for the ambassadors, I also share David's opinion. I think that we have to be ambassadors because it is our duty as artists and promoters to promote classical music and art as performers art because we are the one in charge. We cannot expect that from politicians or from bankers and someone else because they don't care. So this is our duty. And this is something that would be probably very challenging for myself, but this is also something that I want to contribute with my actions and with my decisions.
That's
and,
very
and,
interesting. I've
Diana, I would just like to say that when I hear you sing, I feel genetically cheated in life. Okay. It's
Well,
like,
thank you.
well, it's sort of like, as somebody somewhere said, okay, Dave, we'll let you make music, but you're going to need this appliance, okay, to do it. Okay. You sing beautifully, and
Thank
I,
you.
well, honestly, most of my lyric study of music has been listening to vocalists, and I don't know if you're familiar with the Conconi vocal method.
Yes, of course. Yes, of
Yeah, well,
course.
that's
I
yeah,
teach it.
I use that in my own teaching as well, and another
Yeah, very
Italian
well.
method. I don't know if this is commonly used, but the Caffarelli method. I don't
Yes,
know if
of
this
course.
is. Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
yes, yeah.
I use both of those in my teaching.
Great.
In solfege class, my nickname was Mr. Octave Displacement. Okay, I
Oh,
have a range
wow.
of yeah, I have a range of about a major ninth. Okay, so
Wow.
I'm very impressed with your singing. You
Yeah.
sing beautifully.
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Your singing sends shivers down my spine. It's just so
Thank you.
heart to heart and incredibly, of course, your technique is flawless, but I don't
Thank you.
notice it, and that's the beauty of a real technique
Yeah.
when
Beautiful.
you stop noticing it. But speaking of a technique and step one, and comparing it to the major focus of the competition in terms of judging, how do you think this can apply to the younger participants? They had not had as much time to develop and to perfect their command of their instrument yet. Do you feel that they would be pretty much left out with those categories, or do you feel a younger kid, let's say 10-year-old child, who studied music for maybe 4 years by this time, would be able to shine in those categories? What's your take on it?
Well,
Diane?
yeah, thank you. I think it's not that easy to give you the answer because all of that you mentioned, it's quite individual. We must listen first because there is no rule. We might have a contestant that is learning only 1 year, that is studying only 1 year for an instrument, and he or she can be fantastic. And we might have also contestants that are studying for 4 or 5 years and that will not shine as a star. So I think it's quite individual. We will see when the competition starts, we will see the level of contestants. Is it great? Or I think it's all individual. There are no
But
general
my
rules.
question is from the perspective of a teacher who is
Hmm.
watching our podcast, and
Hmm.
what kind of standard are we setting? Is it all inclusive? Do we look for some personality shining through the little sonatina, or do we expect them to already master the instrument to a specific level? Maybe David, to you?
Well, I think the first, if I were a teacher, okay, well, if I were a teacher, I'm a teacher, okay, so the first thing I would do is go over the words that describe each category and make sure that very young performers understand the definitions of those words. Do they understand what lyricism is? Do they understand what a virtuosity is? And make
Hmm.
sure that they understand what those things are, and then just have a little dialogue with them. I suspect the teacher, with very young kids, I suspect the teacher would know which category the student would fit into better than the student, probably. Although, if kids have a strong feeling, go with that. But once they sort of have an idea of how this works and what these different categories mean, then I would encourage them, talk to them about how they're going to have fun within that category with the kids. How are they going to enjoy performing a lyric piece? And how can they do this in a way that makes them happy and that makes them feel good about what they're doing? And the other thing, too, is I would encourage them, since they'll be doing this within their own home, okay, encourage them to treat this just sort of like another lesson or another practice session. You know, don't worry too much about the gazillion people that could potentially be watching you online, and just play for your cat, play for the laptop, play for your mom, you know, and see what develops out of that. The Diane was talking about development, especially development of young adults, and that is so critically important. And in my thinking, extending that toward the good mental health of very young children. Wow, I that's job number one, to me. And then we can teach them how to play, we can teach them technique, we can teach them other things, but it's not if they don't feel good about themselves and if they don't feel good about what they're doing. And if they don't think it's fun, they're not going to do it. They're little kids. They'll go kick a soccer ball instead of play the violin or the trumpet. So let's make sure this is
I
in the
have a
mental fun category and not a
Hmm.
task.
I have an idea. Since both of you picked the lyrical category as one of the ones which you feel more in connection with, and you plan to judge that category, we're gonna bring up on a frame the actual wording. And David, this was really helpful. You pointed out it's very important to be able to understand what the category means. So if you please maybe take a look and explain how would you would suggest to the teacher to approach that with a younger student. And I'll tell you why I'm asking this, because we actually had two very young contestants who we um, auditioned for the preliminary round yesterday, and it was a very interesting, eye-opening experience to me as part of the team auditioning. So I will share that experience, but let's first take another look at the lyrical category, and I'll read it out to those for who maybe this is a very small print. Allure with your expression and emotional delivery of the music. The voice is known to be the most naturally lyrical instrument due to how much we can feel and hear the connection in the lines of music and the changes in music and sound being so smooth and emotional. This is the root of the goal when trying to deliver a very lyrical performance. And I'm going to refer again to the human voice, as well as having emphasis on delivering power of emotion in combination with a sensation of compassion and connection of what we are hearing to what we are feeling in a very personal way. General criteria: great voice line control. Melody lines and other voices in the music should always be going somewhere and longing to connect and express something, alluring the listener to follow its path. Balance: with music having different moments or even voice lines, having a well thought out approach for balancing those in relation to each other and different section is invaluable. Tone and color: choice of tone type and colors can enhance and enrich the expression of the music. Captivating presence: moving in smooth and elegant ways can complement the music's smoothness and blissful expression and therefore enhance the captivating elements of being lyrical. So, to you, you both are lyricists. Please give us some guidance to the teachers and myself. I have students who want to enter, and I'd like some guidance.
Okay, if we are talking about singers, that what you said now is everything related to the vocal technique, and which is that is something that has to be present and it's correlated with vocal technique. If contestant come with vocal technique issues, he will not be able to apply all that he needs to apply in order to get a reward. So, in a vocal sense, it's all a matter of a very good voice technique. And it's correlated with what I've said previously that voice technique or technique related to any other instrument is, as David said, step number one. You cannot skip it and present us beautiful music with beautiful note and with beautiful emotions. So we can say that very good voice or instrument technique is step number one. And then everything else is something that winners have according to the people who come only in a semifinal or second or third place or fourth place or so on.
Dave, to you.
Yes, Charlie Parker, the amazing, he's been called the American Mozart, the amazing improviser, talked about how his playing, his lyricism, and his sense of line was deeply informed by listening to Frank Sinatra sing, you know, and I think that the lines, between instruments and vocal technique, and even between, trumpet and woodwind instruments, there's a passage, there's a well-known trumpet method book called the Clark Method book, where Herbert L. Clark recommends having a very good clarinet player play through these technical passages for you because it's so much easier for them to handle this technique than it is on the trumpet. And so listening, across disciplines and across instrument forms, it's just critical, and the format that we're having right now, this electronic format just makes this so much easier to do. My goodness, again, I don't want to sound like I'm incredibly ancient, but as a kid, I had to drive 60 miles to get to a good record store. The record store was, I'm not making this up, the record store was called Mole's Hole in Columbus, Ohio. And as a kid, I had to drive to this place and I'd stock up on Miles Davis or I'd stock up on the Chicago Symphony or whatever, And now it's just, gosh, being able to listen across disciplines is just so much easier. So, no, it's a difficulty the times we're living through, but it's also an opportunity as well.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for those advices. And as I promised, I was going to share a little story. We had just yesterday two very young contestants apply, and this is such a new competition. And yes, we put so much thought and discussion into creating the categories, but yet we haven't, haven't tried this. This is the first time we're trying to offer it to the
Mhm.
contestants. And of course, we are all wondering, um, will contestants be interested in those categories? Will they apply for categories? They don't have to. They can allow this to be determined purely by the judges of the nominations round, or they can identify the categories where they feel they fit more. And we had a 9-year-old child who identified, I don't want to say himself, herself, but identified the category for the performance as a musical ambassador. And I thought that was the category for much older people.
Mhm.
And that child presented the pieces for the preliminary audition and had a simple, very short introduction before the pieces, but made that introduction speak in such a human way. Instead of reading the encyclopedia article about the composers and giving us the information which we heard a zillion times and already don't want to know, that child touched on the personality of the composers and the even brought in some facts from life which connected to me in a very vivid way the piece the musician was going to perform. This was incredible performance of the music ambassador connecting with me, brought me to tears. It was a very emotional experience from a very young 9-year-old child, which to me is an incredible feedback that these categories are not necessarily expression of maturity, but more an expression of inherent personality of the artist.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes, I had a 10-year-old student. This is a couple of months ago that was complaining about the poor quality of the espresso that he'd recently enjoyed. And I was stunned because I think I was in college before I figured out what espresso even was. So, you
Yes.
know, I mean, kids grow up at a spectacular rate anymore, and they have so
Yes.
much more information, and thank goodness for it. They can make much better informed decisions, especially with the guidance of adults who hopefully are pointing them in the right direction. And what you're doing here is spectacular, Anna. I mean, it
Yes.
really is just a wonderful thing.
Yes.
I am so proud to be involved with it, and I am also so thrilled to be involved with such an esteemed colleague as Diane. You know, you are
Thank
you
you
are
very much.
you've done
Thank
such
you.
wonderful things, and I'm so looking forward to this. I'm glad we picked the same categories. Maybe we can
Yes.
collaborate on
Yes,
things.
me
That'll be so
too.
fun.
Yeah,
And
you
by the
took
way,
the word out of my mouth. Yes, I just
I'm
wanted to. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Anna,
I'm glad
please.
you guys are on good terms because remember the decisions of the panel of judges is collegiate. It's
Yeah.
not like in the conventional competitions now they don't even let us talk to each other. I've been on so many competitions and I just have hard time with that concept where we have to put the numbers and we know that there's some kind of algorithm which decides the winner and we're isolated from the contestants, we're isolated from each other just to prevent some any kind of discussion in this competition in the Sound Espressivo, we encourage the discussion. We will be bringing the judges to speak with the contestants and give their suggestions and encouragement and maybe help with the direction. Not to immediately announce the decision because the decisions will be made by the judges panels collegiately through talking and discussing because this how music lives. It's part of the community. It's really very unrealistic to imagine that Beethoven wrote his symphonies all by himself in his bathroom. This is just a misconception. He did not. He had a lot of input from the musicians he collaborated with, his students, his colleagues, his supporters, just like all of us. So we
and
will
and the,
be
and the composers he stole from too. So
exactly. Exactly. All those folk tunes he put into his symphonies from the streets, right? From the bars. And of course,
well, people
this.
stole from him then later, so it's perfectly fine. It's a cycle.
Yes. And so, and to bring our program to the close, I would like to ask each of you, if you please would share the final message or encouragement and to our contestants and their teachers. Who would like to go first?
Diane, would you like to?
Uh, yes. Oh, well, I don't want to have this like large speech. I just want to congratulate all who applied. I congratulate you on your motivation, on your hope, and on your positive spirit. Come, apply, join with us, believe in your dreams, and believe that you can achieve everything you want to achieve. So I'm looking forward to hear you all and to have this pleasure to be a jury member of this great project and great competition. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. This is such a wonderful. If I were to apply, which I might,
Yeah,
I would be very encouraged to be judged by a panel like you, Diane, and David. David, your message, please.
thank you.
Well, I would simply encourage you to sign up and do this. Okay, this is there's really no downside to doing this. There's really no reason not to do this. There's nothing but benefit to be gained, and I promise we'll be kind and gentle to you, and encouraging and positive. um, really, I would strongly encourage you to sign up for this. This is something that's on the cutting edge, and I think in later years, especially younger folks that are signing up for this, in later years, you're going to look back and say, "Gosh, I was at the ground level. I was at the launch of something that was pretty spectacular, a pretty wonderful moment in history," and I think you'll be really proud of that. So sign up, give it a shot. You got nothing to lose.
Thank you, David. I would like to encourage the contestants to take a dive of courage and to try the new way of connecting with each other, with the judges, with a community of musicians. To me, as a performing artist, it's an amazing, wonderful feeling knowing that behind that camera there may be someone in Japan, in Australia, in France, and anywhere in the world.
Xenia, don't leave out Xenia.
I'm sure there's someone from Xenia and Siberia.
Yes.
And we actually had some people I know watching us from Siberia yesterday.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
So, and it's just such a wonderful feeling to have this connection with people in real time. And please put your trust in our hands. We have produced over 50 programs by now with world-leading musicians, and they trusted us. And we had over 300 participants at this time. We will take very good care of you. We'll produce your sound and your picture to truly represent the great artists you are, no matter what age. And thank you for being on our podcast. Thank you, wonderful colleagues, and our guests,
Thank you.
Diane, Brava.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much.
Thank
It
you
was such a
very much.
pleasure to meet you. Yes, and to be here with you today.
This is really
Thank
a pleasure. I'm honored to be a part of this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, me
And
too.
I'd
Thank
like
you.
also to thank our Virtual Concert Halls team, many people behind the scenes, behind this frame, which you see if you're watching right now. These are all professional musicians who learned a new skill over the past 6 months of becoming television producers. So they understand what musicians want, and they enjoy working with musicians, and they will carry you with love into performing for Sound Espressivo. Thank you
Right.
very much,
Thank
and
you.
we'll see you again in our podcasts.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye
Thank you.
bye.